Welcome to our Saturday of Professional Learning on financial literacy. My name is Mark Rincon from the Nevada Department of Education. It is my pleasure to introduce David Anderson from WISE. And David, welcome to Nevada.
Thank you, Mark, and good morning, everybody. I am beaming to you from New York City. I'm delighted to be here to showcase what we do in the financial literacy arena. As Mark mentioned, my name is David Anderson. I'm the president and CEO of Working in Support of Education. And I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about who we are as an organization and then dive into what we are doing to try and develop the financial literacy of high school students across the country. So feel free to ask questions as we go along. We do not have to wait till the end. I don't think the presentation will last the full 45 minutes. So I do really welcome your interaction and any questions that you might have as we move along the slideshow. So let's start with a little bit of who we are. We're a New York City-based nonprofit. We've been in business since 1998, and we focus on two things in the educational arena. One, financial literacy, and two, developing work readiness, college readiness, career readiness skills for high school students around the country. In the financial literacy arena, we have a suite of programs. One, the financial literacy certification, I'm going to devote the bulk of my time to today, and so I won't touch on that just yet. We have a program called MoneyWise, which is a financial literacy program for domestic violence survivors. You probably know that financial abuse is part and parcel of domestic abusive relationships, and the lack of financial literacy, the lack of confidence about money management is an impediment to victims of domestic violence leaving the abusive relationship. And so we created MoneyWise about 12 years ago to address that issue. And we have a 10 to 12 week or 10 to 12 session course on personal finance that we offer to partner agencies throughout the country to develop the financial literacy of not just domestic violence victims, but also other at-risk women's groups as well. Lower left, we have a certification test for teachers, which we administer throughout the country as well. It's a way to showcase the proficiency of educators to teach personal finance. There are a couple of states now that do require high school teachers to earn a certification in personal finance in order to teach the subject matter, and our assessment is used widely for that purpose. And then our financial literacy certification program develops the financial literacy of high school students, and I'm going to talk about that in some detail. On the other side of the coin, we have a suite of programs also that we offer to high schools to essentially help students improve their soft skills as they prepare for the next phase of their lives, whether it's problem solving, research, communications, oral, written communications, and so on. These are skills that many students lack when they leave high school, particularly in big urban centers. In New York City, for example, at least 30% of students graduate each year without these soft skills. And so they're moving on to college, career, the workforce, really behind the eight ball. And so our Quality of Life Innovations program, the WISE Institute, and a program that we manage on behalf of the European Union called the Euro Challenge is designed to help high school students build these soft skills. So it's these two pillars together, our goal is to try and improve the economic mobility of young people by not only helping them develop their financial literacy, but also their preparedness for college and career success. So let's dive into the topic of the day. It's our financial literacy certification program. And we created this program in 2002, offered to a few schools in New York City. And it's now a program that is widely used by high schools in all states but yours. And so I'm hoping that today maybe that'll change. But in essence, what we do with this program is it supports personal finance instruction in high schools, and we provide instructional resources to support teachers to teach personal finance, and then we assess students' knowledge at the end of a course or a comprehensive unit on personal finance. And students that pass our test become certified financially literate and earn a CFL. And it's a credential that in some states it satisfies a CTE credential requirement. In other states, there's no particular credentialing requirement, but it's something that students really are proud to earn, demonstrating that they have mastered the subject matter as they prepare to leave high school. As I said, it's a nationwide program in 49 states, and in both our credential and our assessment and the program is approved by departments of education in a number of states around the country. So what do schools get when they sign up for this program? I'm going to start at 3 o'clock, professional development. We are a national partner of Jumpstart, and as you probably know, Jumpstart provides teacher training, professional development throughout the country, and we support the Jumpstart coalitions in a number of states across the country as they provide professional development to teachers in their states. We also work with the Council for Economic Education. They too provide professional development to teachers all over the country, and we support in a number of states that effort. On our own, we have an annual conference that we host. Prior to COVID, it was in New York City, in person. We took a break during COVID, but we will reinstitute this annual conference this year or early next year. And it's a really great day, one day of high-powered learning about personal finance for instructors, high school instructors, college instructors, and so on, who are teaching the subject matter. We also have periodic webinars that we offer throughout the year. And again, the goal here is to, one, provide both content, but also pedagogy around teaching personal finance. We do some of these webinars that are designed to help teachers take materials back to the classroom that they can use for instruction. But a number of these webinars are actually designed for teachers to really build their own capacity. And so, we try and create a learning experience for educators that is on topics that are a little bit, I wouldn't say unusual, but about areas of finance, areas of personal finance that they may not be familiar with. So it's an annual conference, webinars, as well as partnering with other organizations throughout the country that provide professional development as well. Moving to 12 o'clock, instructional resources, there are at least three types of resources we make available to schools. One is a teacher's guide, and that is a roadmap of the topics that need to be covered in a comprehensive unit or course on personal finance. So we don't provide lesson plans per se. We leave it to teachers and the creativity of teachers to develop their own lesson plans. But what our teacher's guide does is that it's the ABC roadmap of what topics need to be covered to prepare students for our certification test. And I'm going to show you some of those topics in a moment. We do have secondly, a resources directory. It's a comprehensive directory of upwards of 300 or links to upwards of 300 websites of game-based tools, simulations. There's a section that does provide lesson plans that are developed by other organizations. The sections on content relating to each of the topics and so on. So it's a really thorough guide, if you will, of resources that you as educators can use as you create lesson plans for your classroom. And then thirdly, and I'm going to devote some time to this later on, we have a very, very good practice test database and mobile app. And so as you're teaching your course or unit on personal finance, your students can take practice quizzes, both on a web-based platform as well as via a mobile app, to help them fine-tune their knowledge on each of the main topic areas. Then moving to 6 o'clock, standardized assessment, we have a pre-test and our certification test. And the pre-test, as you can imagine, benchmarks student knowledge prior to instruction. And then the certification test is for administration at the end of the course or unit. Our certification tests are newly developed every semester. So that's not a static exam. We have multiple tests each semester that we develop and offer. The certification test, therefore, is not the same as the pre-test. Each one has 50 questions, however. Both are online. Both are also available in paper-based form. And I'll say that I would say 95% of the schools we'd work with use our online testing platform, not paper, but you know, there are situations where students may have IEP accommodations that necessitate them taking the test in paper. And so we make that available to schools. And there are a variety of accommodations that we offer as well based on students' 504 IEP requirements. And then lastly, at 9 o'clock, awards and recognition. It's very important for us to acknowledge the great instruction that teachers around the country are providing to their students. And so there are a variety of ways in which we recognize and honor the teachers and the schools in our national network. And I'll devote a few minutes to that later on in the presentation. So it's these 4 pillars: professional development, resources, assessment, awards and recognition. That's the package of features that we offer when a school signs up for the program. You know, I mentioned earlier that the teacher's guide provides a roadmap of the topics that need to be covered to help educators prepare students for our certification test. This is a very high level list of those topics. As you can see, there should be no surprises here. You know, the topics are aligned with national and state standards. They're aligned with the personal finance standards in your state as well as others. And I would say the only one area where we do the mapping between you know, the learning and content standards in each state with our own, and the mapping is very, very good. There's a couple of areas where we find that what we're asking teachers to teach may not be on content on the content standards, and it's the main one is the last bullet on this page, that we do have a section on in our teacher's guide relating to the agencies that regulate the financial system, and particularly the Fed. We think it's quite important that students understand not the macroeconomic role of the Fed, but it is important for students to know that the interest rate that the Fed influences, the Fed funds rate, guides other interest rates and costs of borrowing. And so occasionally we'll have a question on our test relating to that. But aside from that, I think that you'll hopefully agree that these topics that are contained in our teacher's guide are essentially the topics that you're teaching when you're providing personal finance instruction in your classroom. I want to show you this is the score report that we make available through our online testing platform. Each student can get a copy of this individual score report. We also have roster reports, and so you as the classroom instructor can consolidate into a roster the scores of all the students in each class and also across classes. A couple of things to mention here. What you see is an overall score, and then scores in each of 4 subcategories. And so category 1 is on personal financial management, money management, budgeting, and things like that. Subtopic or subscore B is banks and banking, money, interest, and so on. C is credit, and D is insurance and investing. And so this score report, which is on the same for the pretest as well as the certification test, allows you to see not only how students are performing overall on the test, but also in these 4 subcategories. And you'll notice also that you can, the student can see this as well as the teachers, but the scores are available by student, but also for the school. So the bottom right-hand section of the score report shows how students performed overall at the school level. So I mentioned recognition, and this is, again, very, very important that we recognize, honor, and thank teachers like you and schools like yours for the great work that you're doing to develop the financial literacy of your students. So the top bullet here is the CFL. That's the main recognition for students. They earn the CFL if they pass our test. And then for teachers, every year we honor teachers as Gold Star teachers if they earn a certain passing rate. It's 93% passing rate per class on our test in either the spring or the fall. We have recognized schools as Blue Star schools, as well as Platinum schools, again, based on certain performance metrics on our test, and the passing rate and the score, the average score on our test. Schools can become Blue Star schools, Platinum schools, and can receive banners for each of those 2 categories. And I will say that it's the banners. It's schools that I visit around the country are hanging up there in the hallways, and it's a really wonderful way to showcase what an excellent job schools are doing to develop their students' financial literacy. We have financial literacy scholars, and any student that earns a 95% score or higher on our test becomes a financial literacy scholar, and that makes them eligible for our Ambassadors Award, which is a an annual $5,000 cash prize for 5 students. So 5 students can apply to become an ambassador, and it's a competitive process. Obviously, we have a 3-round judging process for ambassador award applicants, and 5 students are selected to each earn $1,000. So the total award is $5,000, and five students are selected to each receive a cash prize of $1,000. And then I think our highest accolade, I'll say, is our 100 best wise high schools teaching personal finance. And this is an annual ranking that we created in 2013. And the goal here is to, one, recognize the schools of true excellence in our national network, but also it's the only ranking of its type in the country. And we wanted to really showcase through this ranking, the importance of personal finance instruction, and really shine the spotlight on the great work that teachers like you are doing to develop the financial literacy of their students. And we announce the ranking in this month every year, Financial Literacy Month. The 2022 ranking will be announced on April 28th of this year. And we announce the ranking at a ceremony that we hold in New York City. It's been virtual during COVID and afterwards, but this year, for the first time, we'll be doing an in-person event again. In years gone by, we've held the ceremony at the New York Fed, at the New York Stock Exchange. This year, we're holding it at the national headquarters of the United Federation of Teachers. And it's a really wonderful event that brings the best educators of personal finance around the country to a gathering to truly celebrate some amazingly good personal finance instruction. And we have really high profile keynote speakers and other guest speakers, and schools that are on the 100 best ranking also receive a banner, and the top schools get a trophy as well. There's 4 categories of awards. We have the overall 100 best, and then we have 3 different categories for 1, the best small school, 2, the best medium-sized school, and 3, the best large school in our national network. So there's four awards. Let me talk a little bit about some of the things that we've been doing new in the last year or so. On the left, bring your own proctor. When COVID hit, obviously, everyone went virtual, and we didn't want to not continue offering our program and our certification test in a virtual sense. And so we created a virtual proctoring platform that allows you as teachers to administer the test virtually to students in their, when they were during COVID, I guess, in their homes. But it can also still be used even with students in the classroom. Surprisingly, there are still a number of schools that we work with that are administering our test virtually. And so, although happily, I think most schools are obviously back in person, and so the need for bringing your own proctor is not as great as it was a couple of years ago, but there's still some use for it. On the right-hand side, we have a learning management system integration offer, and that's very important. If you and your schools are using Blackboard or one of the other learning management systems, our test is integratable with those learning management systems. And so it's very nice that students can do single sign-on through the LMS, and they can access our test directly through the LMS. And so they don't have to log into our testing platform separately from the Blackboard or whatever learning management system you're using. And the other nice thing about it is that as is the case with most testing platforms, the students' names and so on, it's case sensitive, and so by logging in through the LMS, then the school knows, has exactly the right information relating to the students when we produce the test scores. So it's a nice feature that we developed a couple of years ago, and a number of districts around the country are using it. And then third, in the middle, I mentioned we have earlier that we launched last year a brand new practice test database. And it's, as I said earlier, it's web-based as well as available through a mobile app. And the web-based platform is integrated into our testing system. And so when the school signs up for our program and has pre-testing, certification testing, and practice testing, it's all integrated into one secure but easy to use online testing system. But then separately, students can take quizzes using both either Apple or Android, or iOS or Android devices. And we're very excited about the mobile app because obviously Gen Z, that's what they use. But it also it's the fact that we have both the web-based and the mobile app capabilities means that you as educators have the flexibility to decide how and when to administer practice tests. You can use the web-based platform in the classroom. The students can use the mobile app outside the classroom at home and so on. You could use the practice test database for setting homework assignments. There's a lot of flexibility around it, and so we're very excited to have launched this new capability, and I would say that probably almost half the schools that we work with are now using it. Just quickly, the mobile app is it's downloadable through iOS or the Apple Store or the Android Store. There are different types of quizzes. This one, you'll see at the top, it says 15 basic questions. So we have quizzes that are basic and hard. We have quizzes that are topic specific. So this one, for example, is on the credit, I think. There are comprehensive, I'll say, tests that are 35 questions long. There's one that is 50 questions long, also basic, also difficult. And so students can take these practice quizzes on a topic by topic basis. You as the educator can see their scores cumulatively. And so if a student, let's say, takes a banking quiz today, another banking quiz tomorrow, you can see how cumulatively the student is performing on those quizzes. And then both on the web-based platform as well as in the mobile app, after the student completes the quiz, they get this page which shows how many of the questions they got right, how many they got wrong, and you can click on each answer and an explanation will pop up to show why the right question is, or why the right answer was the right answer. And so it provides the rationale for the questions, and so students can learn from their mistakes, I suppose, by looking at these rationales. Just to wrap up, we have mentioned at the beginning a certification test for educators as well. This has been taken by teachers, I think, in 41 states. It's just like our certification test for students. This is a proctored, timed test. It's obviously a more difficult test, a longer test than the one for students. And we administer this in a variety of different modalities. So as a, for instance, at conferences, so although not today, obviously in Nevada, but in a number of conferences around the country, there will be credentialing sessions for teachers either before, during, or at the end of the conference, and we'll administer this certification test for teachers in those conference settings. We work with partners, as I said at the outset, who, like Jumpstart, like the Council for Economic Education and others, who are providing comprehensive PD on personal finance that may be 3, 4, 5 days long. And in those situations, we'll administer our pre-test for teachers at the beginning of the PD, and then the certification exam at the end of the PD. And then thirdly, we administer this exam at district level. A school, any district can contact us and say, I'd like to schedule a time for my teachers or the personal finance teachers in my school to take this exam, and an administrator at the school can then proctor the exam, and it's very flexible in that regard. We have a study guide, and so it's available once a district signs up for teachers to take our test. Again, it's the guide is it's a detailed list of all the topics that could be assessed on the test, and therefore it's a trigger for educators to do homework in those areas where she or he thinks they need to do some prep. And this costs it's $50 a test, and if the pretest is taken as well, that's an additional $25. So it's a great way to show proficiency, to teach the subject matter. And as I mentioned earlier, there are some states where it's a requirement for teachers to take this test. I'm going to close. This is a series of programs that we have that are a little outside of the financial literacy realm, but we're very excited to have a contract with the European Union, and through that contract, we offer 3 programs: 2 in high schools, 1 in college. The high school programs are in North America, both in the US and Canada, called the Euro Challenge. And that's a competitive-based program that enables students to learn about the financial and macroeconomic landscape of the Euro area, and also to learn about the single currency, the Euro. So that program started in 2005 in the United States. We launched it in Canada last year, and it's now in the United States. It's in, I think, 17, 18 states. In Canada, it's primarily in the Ottawa school system, but soon to expand to other areas, Ontario and other school systems around the country. And then at the bottom, we administer a program called the Schumann Challenge, which is it's for college students, not for high school students, and it's a program, again, competitive based, designed to help students learn to tackle an international or foreign policy issue that is relevant to both the United States and the European Union. So in 2022, for example, the topic that students had to address was the humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan. This year, the topic that they addressed, and we just completed the competition a couple of weeks ago. The topic was the security related issues connected to climate change, such as what's the the shortage of water, for example. That's a security issue rising from climate change. Migration, the population migration that's taking place as a consequence of the extreme temperatures and so on. So it's really a very high-powered foreign policy competition that is offered to colleges and undergraduate students in colleges and universities around the country. We'd love you to sign up. I'm here today on behalf of my director, Dario Stepisic, who's I think skiing in Canada as we speak. And so he asked me if I would speak on his behalf, but I will. I think we're sharing these slides, I believe, right? And I'm happy to do so. And if you would like to learn more about our program, how to sign up for our program, then Dario is the person that you would contact. And that's it. So happy to take any questions if you have any.
David, we do have a question.
Sure.
There was a question about what accommodations are available for English learners that take the assessment.
Good question. So one, there's added time. And so through our tests are time tests. And one accommodation is to enable time added in 5-minute increments up to about 2 hours. And so that makes it almost an untimed test. We have something called text to speech, which enables students to use earbuds to take the test, and so it's an oral way of taking the test. We have the students can use not a dictionary per se, but they can use the type of dictionary that explains terms in different languages. So those are three of the accommodations we offer, and the test questions are randomized, and so there are a number of situations, not necessarily for ELL learners, but for students with IEPs where they have to have the test read to them, and so we have a fixed format for our test that enables the test to be read to the students by the proctor. And there are other accommodations as well, but those are some of the main ones.
No, that's great. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, you're welcome.
And then David, I just had a question for myself personally.
Yeah, of course.
Is there any data that you track for the individuals that take your assessment? Do they go into like fields of, when they go into post-secondary education, are they going into fields of financial?
Well, that's a nice question, actually. We would love to do longitudinal analysis like that, and have not done so yet. But anecdotally, a number of students have told us over the years, whether it's through our financial literacy program or through the Euro Challenge, that they have been so motivated about finance in the case of financial literacy, economics in the case of the Euro Challenge, that they have pursued college majors in finance, economics, international affairs, international business, and so on, and then careers in finance. And so we do have alums that we stay in touch with, who have clearly developed a passion and appetite for the subject matter, and have therefore pursued it after they've graduated. I will say also that we measure the impact of instruction on students' financial behaviors. And so, when you're talking about data, obviously the data that we are is private. It belongs to the schools. So we clearly are FERPA compliant in terms of our test scores, our pre-test scores, and so on. But we also administer a survey before students take our test that tries to assess the impact of the instruction on students' financial habits. And so we learn after instruction, are they budgeting versus before instruction? Are they banked after instruction versus before? Are they setting financial goals now that they've taken a course on personal finance versus before? Have they opened a savings account and so on? And these are really important behavioral metrics to illustrate that through instruction, it's not just the knowledge that they're gaining about personal finance, but it's the sound money management habits that they are starting to develop as a consequence of going through this course.
That's actually really interesting, to hear, and just to think about the norms or some of the behaviors that would result from students that are taking going through the curriculum and then seeing what their behaviors are.
You're absolutely right, and the data that we have shows that in fact, at least through high school, a course on personal finance, a comprehensive unit on personal finance, is really moving the needle on these behaviors. There's a number of years ago, there was some research done to kind of pour water on the idea that personal finance instruction was effective in that regard. And I think over the years, it's become clear that that research was not correct, and that indeed the type of courses that that you are teaching in Nevada now and other states around the country is having an impact on students' financial habits, both at the end of high school and afterwards.
Well, great. And again, thank you, David,
You're welcome.
being here this morning. It was a great presentation. Thank you, everyone, for attending the presentation by David Anderson. We hope that you join us for our next session that will be starting at 10:35. Again, thank you, David.
Okay, you're very welcome, and thank you everyone for coming. I appreciate it.